What's up, everybody? It is Zach of the Dark Conservatarian YouTube channel, and I just got off from the gym, doing a bit of a core day, listening to a little bit of the most recent episode of Ranting Monkey's Monkey in the Morning podcast, and the subject matter of it was about Volodymyr, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky banning opposition parties within his own country. And I thought that I would be really remiss if I did not commentate about this. Mostly because of how that I've been putting myself out on social media of what my stance was about and really is right now even about the Ukrainian conflict. Um, and people would be all like, "Oh, there's Zelensky doing the thing that you criticize Putin for and whatnot, Zach." So I guess Zelensky isn't so good after all, which, yeah, I mean, just to get down to it though, since I haven't talked about the Ukrainian conflict at all here on my YouTube channel, I thought I would give some of my basic thoughts about the Ukrainian conflict itself before and leading up to the news of Zelensky banning opposition parties. And maybe I should actually research and read an actual article about this story here and not just rely on Ranting Monkey's commentary about it and his research about it. But nonetheless, I think it's believable enough considering the fact that social media sites have been making their own statements that they would ban pro-Russia propaganda or misinformation, as they have called it. And as much as I am anti-Russia and anti-Putin, I still think that's a pretty unethical and unprincipled stance to take. Well, maybe not entirely unethical. I mean, it is in fact, their privately owned website, and they can do with it whatever they want to, allow or disallow whoever they want on it. So, again, it's their own private property, as my libertarian stance goes. But at the same time, I still think it's bad practice. However, on the flip side, Elon Musk is taking a pretty based stance. Like, on the one hand, he goes challenging to want to fight Putin. Like, he's obviously anti-Putin with the way that he has been talking smack against Putin on Twitter, which, bravo to him for that. I mean, he'd probably not get too far within a fight, and maybe in the end he should keep his mouth shut on that front. Somebody can make the argument for it, but nonetheless, even if it's a little bit of an overstep, it goes still showing that he is like heavily anti-Russia and anti-Putin himself. But at the same time, there was an article that I had read, or at least passed by anyways, saying that he is of the position that he will not ban pro-Russian opinions that are spoken using his new internet service that he is trying to provide for everybody. Starlink, I think, is the name of the internet service that he is providing to people, including to Ukraine. Like, Ukraine losing their some of their internet connection, he's willing to provide internet connection for Ukrainians. So good on him. On the flip side, he's also saying, I'm not going to ban pro-Russia misinformation or propaganda or opinions or anything like that. So it's a fairly consistent stance on his part, in which I kind of applaud him for. I mean, there's lots of criticisms to lob at Elon Musk, but there's some other things that to praise him for, at least from a libertarian stance such as mine. But anyway, I am kind of rambling a bit here, but long and short of it, if it hasn't been obvious by now watching this video, I am anti-Russia and anti-Putin. That I do not want him to gain grounds in Ukraine really at all. I don't think America should get involved. Now, say if in a rhetorical situation that Russia was fighting Mexico and there was top secret information leaked by Russian officials that, oh, once we're done with Mexico, we're going to start going northward to invade the US. Well, then at that point, it would be within our best interest to maybe get involved with a rhetorical war between Mexico and Russia. I mean, just going in the very extreme and just out of this world of rhetorical situations. I mean, I don't think that something like that is actually likely. So therefore, we don't need to fight Russia. But sticking with reality, on the same coin, I don't think we need to get involved with the Ukrainian war. I mean, yeah, the fact that this fight is going on, it has been hurting a little bit of the supply and demand of oil, and so therefore has been driving up gas prices nationwide, particularly here in the US. But at the same time, President Biden can do his own thing to help with that circumstance and make gas just a little bit cheaper for the average American. Like, not only did he further production of the Keystone XL pipeline, which wasn't really at current date of when it was still under construction, helping to lower gas prices, but it was still predicted by a liberal writer at Forbes magazine that in the future it would provide cheaper gas for Americans once it was fully complete. But I'm not even referring to Keystone XL. There was like another pipeline, which I would have to go back to see which article exactly it was that I read. But I read it on one of my Strike Force news live streams. But there was another pipeline that he had shut down. And so that as well is affecting gas prices. On top of inflation as well, which Biden isn't to get all blame for that. He is to get some blame for inflation, but at the same time, so does Trump get some blame for inflation. You should have vetoed those stimulus bills, Trump, at least to make them smaller in how much money that you're throwing out to everybody. At the bare minimum, you could have made it so that not everybody got a stimulus check. Like people like me who was still working during the height and heat of the pandemic, lockdowns and so forth. You could have made it so that people who are still working full-time like me did not get a stimulus check because, in my opinion, I don't think I deserved at all a stimulus check, which I donated most to all of it to Kansas Coalition for Life, by the way, y'all. And not to give myself too big a head or a pat on the back or whatever, but and also to make sure that bailouts or loans were not given to big corporations at the same time. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So the only interest that the United States would have is that of how it's affecting oil prices. But still, there's like alternative methods that we could in fact what am I trying to say? Mitigate gas prices other than starting a war that could possibly be devastating, not just for the local area of Ukraine or even us, but for the entire world. Nuclear war, anybody? So it's really not worth the risk in that mindset of things. I don't like the fact that Putin has taken over Ukraine, and I'm fully against it. And I do not care of what people like to say about how the Bidens have their interminglings with the Ukrainian government, have their own corruption in that area, which I'm not even saying that you guys are wrong for saying those. You might damn well be right that the Bidens are, in fact, corrupt with their workings within the Ukrainian government. But that still doesn't mean that I think Putin, of all people, should be the one to solve that problem. You're talking about a guy who has censored and I think even executed some journalists who were trying to expose him and his corruption. Putin, I mean. There's that, and also he is a communist, or at least he has espoused pro-communist and pro-socialism rhetoric before. He said that, as I have read it in one particular article, I'd have to go back and provide it in the description box, where he says that he is in fact pro-socialism and pro-communism. The only criticism that he has is the method that Vladimir Lenin and Joseph Stalin took to implement that. So that's the only bit of criticism that he has, but on the whole side of things, he supports that ideology, which, so because of those reasons alone, I don't support Putin at all doing this, or conquering any lands at all for that matter. Not Georgia, not anyone. In fact, I would really like it if Putin was just kicked out of office, for that matter. And people are going to give me the opinions, oh, Russia is not communist, which may damn well be true. And Putin has not implemented full-blown communism yet himself. He's doing it a little bit more in a subversive kind of way, in my opinion, as what I've observed anyways. He has like implemented this kind of cronyist, corporatist, kleptocratic, as that's a term that Common Sense Guy has introduced me to, shout out to him, or plutocratic method of running the economy. Like just selling massive sectors of the economy to a few of his own rich buddies. Not even like really allowing the free market to flow, which is like actual capitalism. Not this, oh, I'm going to sell this sector of the economy to my buddies. That's not capitalism, that's corporatism. Or whatever other synonym that you want to attach to it. So, I think that Putin is trying to take a more subversive route than what Lenin did to try and implement communism in modern day Russia, as opposed to how Lenin handled it. But even if, I was to say, give the benefit of the doubt, even if I actually agreed with ANCOMs who say, oh, not true communism, he's not really a communist, he's lying. Even if I was to agree with them on that, I still don't support him because, be it corporatism or communism, whatever economic ideology that Putin actually follows, it's certainly nothing that I support. And not to mention his evil of censoring and even executing journalists. So, screw him. I almost said the F word, but I'm trying to keep it somewhat clean in this video right now. If I haven't dropped the F-bomb already, but I can't remember. But anyway, nonetheless, I'm against him. Not for Zelensky's sake, though. I mean, yeah, I have admired somewhat the memes that are, like, glorifying him and about the ghost of Kiev and all that sort of stuff, all the pro-Ukrainian stuff. But at the same time, they are not without criticism. I don't think I've ever asserted that Ukraine itself, the Ukraine military, or more importantly, the Ukraine government, is without its criticism. And this, that Ranting Monkey of Monkey in the Morning just stated, is another sign of what wrong that they are doing, that Zelensky specifically is doing. And that is banning opposition parties. That is a big old no-go right there, Zelensky. And, yeah, it's kind of ironic because on the one hand, Putin goes censoring opposition journalists, and now here we have Zelensky banning opposition parties. So it's a little bit of a different circumstance. Like, it's not as extreme as what Putin has done to journalists, but it's still like a step in that direction. And there's also the context that this is wartime as well, which kind of, if somebody really wanted to try and reach around to try and give out that justification, maybe. But even then, I'm still against banning opposition parties in the same way that I am against Abraham Lincoln arresting journalists for criticizing the Civil War, for example. I am a little bit of a free speech absolutist in that area. Even in wartime, you should be allowed to criticize the war effort. I don't care. And in the case of Zelensky, even in wartime, I still ideally think that he should allow opposition parties to speak their piece and whatnot, and to run for political office and so forth. But because the fact that it is war, it is at least somewhat understandable. Whereas Putin's case, I don't even think that it's wartime, or at least when I've gone researching about him censoring journalists, that it was anything in wartime. It was just them trying to expose him of the piece of crap that he was, and so forth. What am I trying to say? And you know what? It's kind of self-defeating as well. Like, from what I heard, Zelensky had won by a 70% margin or something like that around that area when he won presidential office. So why does he feel like he even needs to ban opposition parties? If the opposition parties are so unpopular, at least compared to himself, why is there even an incentive to have to do this? I mean, come on. It's pointless to ban opposition parties, and really it just puts you in a bad light is all it does. Even if it's a marginal bad light, it's still a bad light. Really, this is another example of the pro-Ukraine side, the more mainstream pro-Ukraine side, giving ammo to the pro-Putin side. And again, I'm not pro-Putin at all. I'm not even on my way of becoming pro-Putin. And you know what? It's kind of weird the way that the Ukrainian war has shifted the political landscape. Like, you have people on the right who are in support of Putin. You have people on the right who are also against Putin and for the Ukrainian military war effort. Defensive war effort against the invading Russian army, anyways. And you also, on the left, have people who are pro-Ukraine, like TYT is, and also, as I had watched that Actual Justice Warrior video that he gone commentating about that, and you also have people on the left who are pro-Russia, like Jimmy Dore. And I don't care and a little bit of a side note here, screw you if you want to say that Jimmy Dore is not a leftist. You're either completely ignorant, retarded, or a flat-out liar to be saying that he is not a leftist. The guy supports single-payer healthcare still, and he is also for banning fracking. And probably would not take much effort out of me to try and see that there are other left-wing positions that he takes and whatnot, but that's neither here nor there. But that was my commentary on the whole Ukrainian war effort. Give me your commentary down in the comment section down below. Let's have a little bit of a conversation here. And, yeah. Ukraine, I wish you luck. I don't want the people of Ukraine to be falling under the rule or jurisdiction of Putin. I don't care what people have to say about the deep state or Biden or whatnot, just because of that Putin might be supposedly against the New World Order, the Illuminati, the deep state, or whatever, does not mean that he's a good guy. We have two evil sides fighting against each other, if that's the case. Two evil sides in which we should support neither one of them. I don't care. Screw Putin. And hopefully Ukraine actually manages to successfully thwart the Putin and Russian war effort of invading Ukraine without there having to be anything that ends up in a nuclear holocaust. Or a nuclear winter. Why did I say nuclear holocaust? My bad. But nonetheless, I'm Zach of the Dark Conservatarian YouTube channel. See y'all later. Bye-bye.